Most people think mental toughness is something you're born with. Wrong. You think some people are just naturally calm, naturally disciplined, naturally fearless. Also wrong. The truth is much more offensive than that. You are not weak because life is hard. You are weak because you trained weakness every day. Every time you panic early, every time you avoid discomfort, every time you run from boredom, uncertainty, and pressure, you teach your brain the same lesson. Stress means stop. Elite performers teach the opposite lesson. Navy SEALs, Special Forces, emergency surgeons, firefighters. These people are not relaxed because life is easy. Their lives are chaos, noise, risk, pain, stakes. They stay calm because they built a system that makes panic useless. And once you understand that system, you'll never look at confidence the same way again. Because confidence is not a personality trait. It is a trained prediction. Your brain asks one question under pressure. Have we survived something like this before? If the answer is no, you panic. If the answer is yes, you execute. That's it. I'm about to show you the 3 mental rewires elite performers use to stay dangerous when life gets ugly. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to build real calm, not fake motivational nonsense. Chapter 1. They train stress before stress arrives. This is where most people lose. You wait until the hard moment to become strong. Idiot strategy. You try to become calm during the exam, during the interview, during the breakup, during the financial crisis, during the confrontation, during the moment your world starts shaking. Too late. Psychologists call this stress inoculation. Donald Meichenbaum built entire therapeutic frameworks around it. The principle is simple. Small doses of controlled stress prepare the mind for larger doses later. Not theory, biology. The military uses this constantly. They don't practice in comfort and hope performance survives chaos. They add noise, time pressure, sleep loss, uncertainty, and friction. Why? Because your nervous system needs rehearsal, not inspiration. Most of you live the opposite way. You make life frictionless. Alarms with 5 snoozes. Entertainment all day. Constant snacks. Constant music. Constant scrolling. Immediate relief every time discomfort appears. Then, you wonder why normal adult problems feel like war. Because your baseline is softness. Here's the rule. The softer your daily life, the harsher reality feels. But here's the problem, though. People here embrace discomfort and turn it into macho garbage. That's not the point. The point is controlled hardship. Cold shower, hard workout, phone in another room, difficult conversation you've been avoiding, timed deep work block without escape, walk without headphones, sit with boredom for 10 minutes and don't touch anything. These are not life hacks. These are nervous system reps. Research on exposure therapy shows the same principle. When you repeatedly face a stressor without escaping, your fear response weakens over time. Your brain updates the prediction. Maybe this isn't death. Maybe this is just uncomfortable. That update changes everything. Most people don't need more motivation. They need more proof. Proof that discomfort doesn't kill them. Proof that uncertainty doesn't own them. Proof that panic is optional. The first time you do hard things on purpose, your brain screams. The 10th time, it negotiates. The 50th time, it shrugs. That is how toughness is built. Not through quotes, through repetition. Marcus Aurelius understood this 2,000 years ago. He wrote about meeting adversity before it arrived, preparing the mind to expect difficulty instead of being insulted by it. Same principle. Ancient language. Modern neuroscience. And here's the brutal part. If your life contains 0 voluntary discomfort, then every involuntary discomfort feels like an attack. Traffic ruins your mood. A bad email ruins your day. A little criticism ruins your confidence. A delay ruins your focus. Pathetic. Your problem is not the event. Your problem is the tiny capacity. So, build capacity. Start with 1 daily hardship block. 15 to 30 minutes, no dopamine, no escape, just something slightly annoying that requires control. Study without your phone. Train when you don't feel like it. Finish the task before the mood arrives. That is how you teach your brain a new identity. I do hard things before life forces me to. Once that identity starts forming, pressure stops feeling personal. Now you can handle discomfort. But here's the thing though. Enduring stress is not enough. Plenty of people can suffer. Very few can think clearly while suffering. That's Chapter 2. Chapter 2. They control meaning before emotion controls them. Most people think panic comes from events. Wrong. Panic comes from interpretation. The event happens. Your brain labels it. Your body follows the label. Psychologist Richard Lazarus built this idea into appraisal theory. Stress is not just what happens to you. Stress is what your mind decides the event means. Missed deadline? You think I'm screwed. Heart rate spikes. Someone looks disappointed. You think, I'm failing. Stomach drops. Silence after you send a message? You think they hate me. Now you're inventing tragedies in 4K. Same event. Different interpretation. Different body. Elite performers understand this better than you do. They do not let the first emotional interpretation stay in charge. They reframe immediately. Not with delusional positivity. Not with everything happens for a reason nonsense. With operational language, a setback becomes data. Fear becomes activation. Uncertainty becomes incomplete information. Pain becomes feedback. Pressure becomes a cue to narrow attention. This is exactly what top performers do. The sports psychologist Jim Lair and performance researchers across elite athletics found that the best competitors regulate internal dialogue under stress instead of becoming victims of it. Most of you narrate your own collapse. You say things like, I'm overwhelmed. I can't do this. This is too much. What if I mess up? Why is everything going wrong? Congratulations. You are writing a panic script and then acting surprised when your nervous system performs it. Language is not decoration. Language is command. The words you repeat become instructions to the body. That's why special operations training uses short internal cues. Breathe, move, scan, execute. One step. Next rep. Stay here. Not because it sounds cool, because complex thoughts collapse under pressure. Short commands survive. Cognitive load researchers have shown again and again that working memory is limited. Under stress, it gets worse. So, if your mental self-talk sounds like a dramatic podcast, you are done. You need fewer words, sharper words, useful words. Instead of I'm panicking, say adrenaline. Instead of this is a disaster, say this is the task. Instead of I'm not ready, say do the first step. It sounds stupid. Good. Simple works under pressure. Fancy fails. Hit subscribe before you forget that. We fix weak thinking here. Here's a real example. Your heart starts pounding before a presentation. Average person says, I'm nervous. Hope I don't embarrass myself. Now the body reads the situation as threat. The elite performer says, good. Body is preparing resources. Same heart rate. Different interpretation. Better performance. There's actual research on this. Studies on stress reappraisal, including work by Alia Crum and others, show that interpreting stress as helpful rather than harmful can improve performance and physiological outcomes. Your body is not always betraying you. Sometimes it's equipping you. But here's the problem, though. Reframing works only if you catch the thought early. Most people don't. Why? Because they live in reaction mode all day. No awareness. No pause, just impulse, emotion, behavior. Someone says one thing, and they mentally spiral for 6 hours. That's why elite performers build a gap. Viktor Frankl said between stimulus and response, there is a space. Everyone quotes it. Almost nobody trains it. Training the gap is practical. Pause 1 breath before replying. Wait 10 seconds before checking the phone. Label the emotion before obeying it. Write the thought down before believing it. That tiny pause interrupts automatic meaning. And once meaning stops being automatic, you stop being fragile. Now pressure doesn't instantly own your nervous system. But here's the thing. You can train stress. You can control interpretation. Still not enough. Because when chaos hits, Thinking alone is too slow. You need a third system. Chapter 3. They reduce life to protocols. This is where calm starts looking like magic. You watch elite people under pressure and think, wow, they're so composed. No, they're just less forced to think from scratch. You panic because every hard moment feels new. They stay calm because hard moments trigger a script. Psychologist Gary Klein studied decision-making in firefighters, soldiers, and emergency personnel. What he found was brutal for the average person's ego. Experts are not calmly comparing 10 options like some genius chess computer. They recognize patterns fast and run a proven response. That means real calm often comes from preparation, not personality. You keep trying to be more confident. Wrong target. Build protocols. When you wake up anxious, what do you do first? When you feel distracted, what's the reset? When you get criticized, what's the response pattern? When you feel lazy, what's the first move? When you start overthinking at night, what exact sequence happens next? If you don't have a protocol, emotion takes command. And emotion is stupid. That's why the best performers automate basics. Morning protocol, workout protocol, shutdown protocol, conflict protocol, focus protocol, recovery protocol. The more chaos you remove from the small decisions, the more strength you save for the big ones. This is what checklists do in aviation and surgery. Atul Gawande wrote an entire book on this. Experts use checklists not because they are incompetent, but because pressure makes even smart people forget obvious things. You think routines are boring. Wrong. Routines are defensive weapons. When your mood changes, the protocol stays. When your confidence dips, the protocol stays. When the day gets ugly, the protocol stays. That consistency is what makes you look disciplined. But discipline is often just pre-decided behavior. Let me make this painfully simple. You say you want to stop overthinking. Fine. Then your protocol might be this. Write the problem in one sentence. List what you control. Choose the next physical action. Do it for 5 minutes. Reassess after motion, not before. That's it. Not 10 podcasts. Not journaling for an hour. Not asking 5 friends. Not lying on the bed conducting a TED Talk inside your skull. Motion kills fog. Protocols create motion. Here's another one. The confidence protocol before any hard event. Stand tall. Exhale longer than you inhale. Relax the jaw. Name the first objective. Move within 10 seconds. Why the exhale? Because physiological sighs and longer exhales help regulate arousal. Neuroscientists like Andrew Huberman have discussed how breathing patterns influence state control. Again, this is not mystical. It's mechanics. Your body position, breath, and first action all change the quality of the next minute, and the next minute often decides the next hour. But here's the problem, though. Most people only use protocols when they remember. Elite performers use them until they become default. That takes repetition. The first few times, it feels artificial. Good. Every useful identity feels artificial at first. The calm person you admire? Built. The disciplined person you envy? Built. The focused person you think is special? Built repeatedly, under friction, until the protocol became personality. And there's one more layer almost nobody talks about. Chapter 4. They make recovery part of toughness. This is where fake grinders get exposed. You think mental toughness means always on, always pushing, always aggressive, no rest, no weakness, no breaks. That is not toughness. That is ego with a caffeine addiction. Real operators recover hard because depleted brains make cowardly decisions. Sleep researchers like Matthew Walker have shown how sleep loss wrecks emotional regulation, attention, learning, and impulse control. In plain English, tired people become dramatic, stupid, and weak. You call it burnout. You call it stress. You call it being unmotivated. Sometimes you just haven't slept, or eaten properly, or moved your body, or been alone with your thoughts long enough to reset, or taken 1 hour without screens poisoning your attention span. Most people are not overwhelmed by responsibility. They are overwhelmed by poor recovery. Special operators know this. Athletes know this. Surgeons know this. Recovery is not what happens after the mission. Recovery is what keeps the mission possible. Your brain is not a machine. It is a biological system, and biological systems need cycles. Stress, recovery, stress, recovery. Break that rhythm, and performance collapses. This is why the strongest people often look boring. They protect sleep. They repeat routines. They manage inputs. They do not spend every night frying their dopamine receptors and then act confused in the morning. You want a stronger mind? Guard the basics like your life depends on them. Because performance does. Sleep on time. Train hard. Eat like an adult. Get sunlight. Reduce noise. Stop flooding your brain with cheap stimulation. To keep it simple, stupid, resilience is easier when your physiology isn't broken. Now, put all 4 chapters together. Voluntary discomfort builds capacity. Reframing controls meaning. Protocols reduce chaos. Recovery preserves strength. That is mental toughness. Not screaming. Not pretending fear doesn't exist. Not acting alpha on the internet. Mental toughness is staying useful when emotion would rather be dramatic. And here's the part nobody wants to hear. You do not rise to your goals. You fall to your training. That line gets repeated because it's true. When life punches you, your real habits answer. Not your intentions. Not your potential. Not your motivational playlist. Your habits. So, if you keep collapsing under pressure, stop asking how to feel more confident. Ask a better question. What am I rehearsing every day? Because that is the person you become. If every day you rehearse avoidance, distraction, comfort, and panic, then pressure will expose exactly that. But if every day you rehearse discomfort, clear language, simple protocols, and recovery, then one day people will look at you in a crisis and say, "How are you so calm?" And the answer will be simple. I've been here before. Maybe not this exact situation, but this level of discomfort. Yes. This level of uncertainty? Yes. This urge to panic? Yes. And every time I practice staying useful. That is the whole game. By the way, you don't need some massive life overhaul to start. You need one controlled hardship per day, one better stress sentence, one protocol for your weakest moment, and one serious recovery habit you stop sabotaging. That's enough to begin rewiring your identity. But here's the thing, though. Staying calm under pressure is only half the battle. Even if you stop panicking, most people still waste their life on inconsistency. They can perform once, maybe twice, then fall apart, because their discipline is built on mood. That's why I made this next video breaking down how high performers stay disciplined even when they feel nothing. No motivation, no hype, just execution. And once you understand that system, procrastination starts looking like a choice.